Hello, I'm Noel Gregory and welcome to Ready to Paint Monet. In the last programme you saw me bring it up to the halfway stage, and now it's the question of filling in the details and giving more structure to the picture. So by looking at it, I can see that it needs some of the mid-tones working. The light tones are there and the dark tones are reasonably there, but I need to get the mid-tones down. So we need quite a lot of yellow paint. So I've got lemon yellow and chromium yellow here. We'll mix a lot of it together. I'll take some here and mix it up. And I'm going to use a bit of ultramarine blue in it, just a tiny touch. Let's take this muck off there, but that's better. And we'll use this to do our mid-tones. There's one in here. It's probably a bit too acidy, that. We'll make it less green, I think. Put a bit more chrome yellow with it. Let's see what that looks like. Still not quite right, I don't think. I will mix the green. Let's have a little tiny bit of green to it. There we go. Add a bit more green to it and see what happens. That seems to be better. It's a bit too yellow. That's better. That's much better. Right, I'm going to fill in all what I would consider to be the mid-tone areas as just general shapes. That's really good. Right, a bit more water, and we just carry on doing this throughout the picture, moving the paint around and looking at the structure in a much stronger way than it was before when we first started. When you first start, you've got to get something on the canvas to tell you what we're looking at. Just some colour to give you a guide of where the next brush strokes ought to be. And once that's done, then you can start to paint and really put in the kind of details you need. That lovely reflection of that lily, of the breed there, comes across there, it goes across there. Right, put a load of daubs of colour across here, that's what it needs. See how the mid-tones are building up. I'm going to swap this brush for a larger brush. We'll get the number 8 and we'll mix up some more paint. Bit of green in it, bit of chrome green this time. That's better. Tiny touch of red, just to soften it. Let's have a go with this. That's the mid-tone areas. Now I'm going to do a bit of purple. I'm going to swap over the brush so I give a bit more detail. I'm going to use a bit of purple this time. I'll mix it with the green. I quite like mixing paint together with the existing colour you've got because it sort of unifies the whole picture. So there's a bit of purple with what I've just used, and we'll just add a bit of some of these. It's a tone really more than anything else. There's some red bits mixed up with these things here. It's probably the wrong colour actually, but as I said before, it doesn't really matter too much if the colour is slightly wrong, as long as it's interesting. Let's add a bit of red to that, stop it looking quite so dull. That's a bit better. Let's try that one. That's a bit better. It just adds a bit of colour to it. Again, these sort of stabbing colours. There's a nice sort of ready sort of brown reflection that those reeds have. Wrong tone, bit too light, but we'll change that. We'll add a little bit more red to that, and I'm going to do something to give it a bit more of a lift. And use a bit of cadmium red here. I'm just going to do some little bits on these lilies. Not on all of them, because I don't think they are on all of them, but some of them here are quite nice. Just a bit of colour, and there's just add a bit to here as well. There we go. There's some lilies there. We'll add those there. 1, 2, 3. Lots of dobs. Dobby. I think I'm mad. Right, it's still, I think, not quite dark enough in places. So we mix up some purple, and mix up some green. I'm going to turn a little touch of alizarin crimson here and see what that does. We've got some very dark areas here, some very dark ones. That will push this back and bring this forward. Tone. So we'll look at these shapes here, and I'm going to work on all the dark areas now, and it'll change dramatically. And you can see why tone is so important. Now I've got to be quite careful how I draw this, because this is going to bring out the top of the bridge. Still not quite strong enough. It's still not quite enough paint with there. Let's make it a bit thicker. It's not covering terribly well. That's a bit better. Right. That's a bit more better coverage. I've just got to carry on, working in that same tone structure, moving things around so it brings out the colour and the tone. And it's very important to get this right at this stage. So it'll take a little time. I'm going to give myself a little break for a few seconds, just to look and see what I'm doing, see what the next stage is.